When are they going to get us our shirts?
You got me. Wow. You said.
Well, we were here at last, and it was time now to pick up the cars and meet up with the others at the airport hotel.
Hi, Jim.
One last photograph and we're about ready to get started. And then Dave discovered that he had left his traveler's checks at the last hotel. So he went away to solve the problem, and we waited around for a little bit longer and finally got underway. Then, unfortunately, Dave had his second problem of the day. We all pulled over, but fortunately, so did a local MG mechanic in a beautiful MGA. Dave explained the problem, and with some expert assistance, the mechanic was able to solve the problem in a matter of minutes. The first major city in our itinerary was Bath, pronounced Both. The lively downtown area was fun, but the real reason we came here is to see why the Romans had liked this area, and it was, of course, the hot springs that made possible this nice outdoor heated pool. Then, of course, to cool off after your bath, you went to a colder pool. It was looked over by some interesting Roman gods. Some were friendly, and others seemed to be a bit grouchy. Every morning and after a major stop, we always had a driver's meeting. And I think during this one, Norma set the prime directive for what happened if you got lost.
Right? They don't like here, and then if we want to split up and some go here and some go down here, we can, or we can all go down here.
Yeah, why don't we all stay together?
Well, it gets unwieldy in these towns, but we can do it.
I think you have to say, if you get lost, see you back at the hotel.
Surprisingly, we didn't get lost all that often, even in the rain. Don't you love those TC wipers? Anyway, we arrived at our next stop, the rain had stopped, and we were ready to begin touring in earnest. The first rule of sightseeing in England is never let a little rain stop you. If we did, we would have missed the the tallest spire in England, here at Salisbury. This is what it's going to look like when it's all fixed. This typical Gothic interior was very impressive, but maybe the main tourist attraction here was the best preserved copy of the Magna Carta, the basis for English common law even today. Another church in this area that shouldn't be missed is Wells Cathedral in Somerset. It was the first English cathedral to be built in the early English Gothic style. But the scissors arches that support the central tower, found nowhere else in the world, are what makes it really unique. We light a candle to St. Andrew, and for a few enjoyable minutes, listen to the choir practice. Nearby is the Vicar's Close, which was originally built for members of the choir. It's the oldest continuously occupied street in England. Actually, some of the choirs still live here, but most apartments have been modernized and are now available for affordable housing. Moving along, I love this shot from the Simons TC. Anyway, there were lots of unplanned stops. We always seemed to find plenty of interesting places to have lunch, and whenever we stopped, there was always a gathering in the parking lot for the locals to have a look at the Americans in vintage British cars. We wish that we could visit with everybody, but sometimes we just had to bite the bullet and get back on the road. Did that sign say strawberries? Yes, it did. We have to stop here, see what's going on. We're right on the border of England and Wales.
There's something incongruous about coming all the way from Oxnard and buying strawberries.
Our Welsh friends, Lynn and Ann Harcum, smelled the stable, being Welshmen, and they were ready to go home. So we bid them goodbye and thanked them for escorting us through this part of the trip. Some of our unplanned stops included a bit of map reading, checking our route, making sure we were on the right track. Also, visiting with some of the locals that we met along the way and admiring their beautiful homes and gardens. After a day's drive in a TC, there's really nothing nicer than a comfortable inn in the Cotswolds. This inn in Tetbury was one of my favorites. Even the annex was comfortable. The grounds were especially nice, and the dining room was first rate. Every evening while we were here, we met in the hotel's very comfortable lounge. On this particular meeting, Esther Bellin reads off a list of local touring destinations.
This is the magnificent palace of Queen Catherine Parr, and now the home of Lord and Lady Ashcombe.
Well, this place
One
here?
of Henry's.
It's set in splendid formal gardens in the beautiful Cotswold Valley.
So there are three,
It's quite a choice.
but I want to know what a fruit machine is.
We have to find out what a fruit machine.
I wouldn't touch that line with a 10-foot pole.
A fruit machine.
One of the choices that Esther gave us was a country estate on the National Register. I'm embarrassed I've forgotten the name. Unfortunately, this was its off day, so we couldn't go inside. I doubt if Martha's fruit machine was there anyway. But we did visit with some friendly horses and had a free run of the lush grounds to take pictures the old-fashioned way. Selfies hadn't been invented yet.
This is us in England, isn't it?
Yeah, this is at our country estate.
I think I just did it. You did it. Great. That's right.
Every once in a while, Norma and I went off by ourselves after the others returned to the hotel or did other tours. This was one of those times.
I think. Maybe not. I guess not. You just gotta be smart. Tired. Long walks. Even in England, tiring.
Not to worry, no more churches for a while. But this day was a special kind of pilgrimage for us to the old MG Works in Abingdon. Here it is in its heyday. We all lined up for a picture in front of the last remaining building, then gathered at the headquarters of the MG Car Club, named for Cecil Kimber, the first managing editor of the MG Car Company. Well, there's Cecil Kimber, and there's Bill Wallace, the club's general secretary, who shared a bit of MG lore along with tea and crumpets. Actually, it was coffee and donuts. A reporter from the local newspaper was there to see what all the fuss was about, and he stayed on to interview a few of our members. Norma fills him in on our plans for the rest of the day.
Have lunch at the pub that used to be the Boundary House, which was called that because it was on the boundary of Abington, which now is in the middle of Abington. So we're all off to lunch.
Actually, the Boundary House is still a very upscale pub and was the Abingdon residence of Cecil Kimber. Before going in, Esther Bellin spruces up and gets a kiss of approval from Stan. Very romantic. And there's Ron Simon attacking a traditional plowman's lunch, which is crusty bread, cheese, pickled onions, and chutney, with a selection of cold meats and, if you're very lucky, a slice of country pâté. After lunch, a magazine photographer who was also covering our event talked us into one more photo op. We motored a short distance to Burford, one of the livelier Cotswold villages, where we attempted, I think, the most challenging TC lineup in club history. Let's watch as our ambitious photographer gets us organized for the shoot.
you seem to be going today?
Being interviewed by the assistant.
Another day, I forget exactly where, it could have been Bourton on the Water, Stowe on the Wold, Morton in Marsh. Anyway, we met members of the MGT Register for a day's run, and we ran into an old friend, Gert Jensen, a former member of the Abingdon Rough Riders of San Francisco. Everybody was, as you might expect, very friendly and glad to have us join in the run, but I don't think they completely trusted our navigational skills.
We can still about.
The people from California would like to get with someone from the UK so we won't get lost.
Well,
That's the main.
no problem.
So if some of our English friends can adopt some of our American friends, and then we'll run around the route, which we've all got.
It was a great day's run through the Cotswold Hills. Weather was good, and it ended up where they all do, in a pub. We lined up for one last picture in front of the Hare and Hound before starting one of the longest legs of our trip, around 160 miles. As I recall, we caved in and took the A5 motorway for at least part of the way. Compared to where we'd been the last week or so, Chester was a big city. We used the Blossom Hotel as our headquarters because you could walk to most of the interesting places in about 10 minutes. Close to the city center is the Eastgate Clock, Chester's best-known landmark and the second most photographed clock in the world after Big Ben. As you can see, the old city walls are surrounded by a moat. And on one side we could look down on a residential area with people going about their daily business. And on the other side, well-manicured city parks with contemporary sculpture by famous British artists. Every block or so there was access to the neighborhoods. We could step down off the wall and admire the architecture and the various really high-end shops with all kinds of luxury goods. Chester also has a world-class cathedral constructed of red sandstone, which has been restored several times because of wind and water erosion. Unfortunately, our time was short today and we had to move along, so we had to settle for an outside view. Besides, it was time to get on the road again and check out some castles.
Here we are at Denbigh Castle.
All right, tell us all about it.
Okay, Harvey, the castle was built in 1282 as part of Edward I's 13th century campaign against the Welsh. Last saw action in the Civil War of 1686. It's on the Welsh coast. It was cold and rainy. It was time now to put up our tops, or is it our hoods, or is it bonnets? I can never remember. Anyway, we wanted to move on up to the Lake District, which we hoped would be a lot warmer. We used the Wild Boar Inn near Lake Windermere as a touring base. Cozy inn, nice dining room. Everything was good except the wild boar. Let's listen in while some of the navigators plan the day's outing.
My map has the ferry marked on it.
See, he
Here's
says,
Hawkshead.
yeah, he
So
says
that-
via ferry. So you go across this on the ferry.
I mean, we bring our cars on the ferry?
No, it's Beatrix Potter's Hilltop Farm.
Oh, is this it?
And Peter, and that's, there's a piece on the vine.
Yeah, I see those.
Is this Uncle Wiggli's garden?
Yes, I think it is.
Right here?
No, not Uncle Wiggly. Farmer, you know,
Peter Rabbit.
Yeah. McGregor.
Did I ever tell you I was the head lettuce in the play in grammar school?
Well, even though we had the head lettuce along, we weren't allowed to photograph inside the house. But I grabbed these couple of pictures before the docent caught me, and I don't think Beatrice would have minded. Anyway, it's time to say goodbye. There's Beatrice. Goodbye, Beatrice. We're off for another day on our own.
I had a nice day. How about you?
I had a wonderful day.
David was one of our main British contacts during the planning of GRAB. He's here today to take us on a tour of Cambridgeshire, joined by several of the local MGers. We made an impressive lineup at our first stop at the Cambridge American War Memorial. top, believe it or not, was an apple orchard.
Top of that tree. Want one of those red ones? That'd be great.
To be more specific, it was a very unique and a very historic tea room in the middle of an apple orchard. And as the sign says, Rupert Brooke, Bertrand Russell, E.M. Forster, and other British literary giants often took tea here among the apple trees. Or if it was rainy, they would adjourn to this warm, dry lounge, like we did.
This is right here.
After tea, David passed out some brochures and the directions to our next stop at the, let me get this right, the Wandlebury Ring. The self-guided tour told about a history of an Iron Age hill fort dating back to 400 BC. You can still see what's left of the moat. The site is now a county park with a very determined flock of geese, always looking for handouts. Back in town after having tea with the Wilmers, we decided to have a look at one of the world's great universities. Norma and Charlotte have probably read in the brochure that Cambridge has twice as many Nobel Prize winners as the next runner-up, Harvard. Here are some of their milestone contributions. The university has its low-tech side too. For example, its main means of transportation. And the students still seem to favor their traditional garb, loyalty to their clubs. In short, a respect for their history, even as they get ready for their future. Well, we're nearing the end of our grand rally, so we snap a few pictures on one of the River Cams bridges and visit just one more landmark of English architecture before returning to London. The world-famous chapel at King's College, with its exceptional stained glass and unique fan-vaulted ceilings. Sorry, I can't help it. I'm an art teacher.
A couple of minutes, please. I just felt we ought to start the evening by welcoming the TC Motoring Guild of California, on behalf of the MG Car Club Cambridge Natter. I think Paddy and Tony and Morris would agree that this has got to be the highlight of our history so far, of our 12-year history. Right. Now then, a word of thanks, no doubt. You've all seen the cake. I guess I'm going blind. Now that was a real surprise. I knew it was coming, but I hadn't seen it until tonight. And I think we should say thank you to Angela is a baker. I was told to mention the name of the firm.
They say I'm the rally master, but we've all taken part in this, and somebody had to worry about it more than the others, I guess, and so they asked me if I'd do it. But everyone in the group has taken some little part in planning this thing. We've been planning it for a year and a half. And we were up in Glassmere the other day, and Stan and Esther left before the rest of us. And as they drove down the road, my wife heard an elderly man say, "That's the
only civilized way to travel."
That's the only
Does anyone have any comments about the trip they'd care to make? The final comments? Or?
That you'd never ask.
Let's say hello to Jim who can't be here.
Yes.
The empty chair up there is for, show the empty chair is for Jim. Well, we have to plan another one.
Grab 93.
Grab 93.
Adios, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye.